Thank you, Jack.
Father, we thank you for this day, the many blessings of life you've bestowed upon us today. Father, we ask you to bless this meeting, bless all those that attended this meeting. Give us a great desire for our jobs and what we do as a council and for our citizens here. Again, we ask you to bless this meeting in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, so, first and only item on the agenda.
Calling the meeting to order.
Oh, I'm sorry. Make a motion to, or I need a motion to call the meeting to order.
I'll make a motion to call the meeting to order.
Second, somebody second? Second, okay. Oh, vote? Okay.
Madam Chair, I would like to rise to a point of personal privilege, if that's right, please.
Yes.
As you all are aware, that rising to the point of personal privilege gives me the floor until I relinquish it to the chair. I first have asked a court reporter to be with us today who could not get here from Cleveland, Georgia, so I will ask, are we certain that this meeting is being recorded such that it can be accurately transcribed and all of the voters and the public can know each and every word spoken and by whom? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. The only information that I have is information that has been placed in the public record by email, back and forth, because no member of the city council has saw it fit to respond to me in the last 15 days. I've called them all, I've emailed them all, and I've texted them all, and I have been excluded from their discussions. I wish that to be public record and be known. Therefore, I am asking questions of the city council, and I made certain that each of you have a writing instrument and something upon which you can make notes if you need to, because when we're finished with this, you will probably want to answer questions specifically and on the record and by identity. I listened carefully to the minutes of the last meeting, and there was a great deal of talking over one another and garbled speech. Please do not do so. First, I'm questioning why this meeting is being held and the prior meeting of 1 week previous. I am aware that members of the city council can call a meeting, and then when one is called under unusual circumstances between meetings, it usually implies, and the public usually feels that there is some urgency, that it is not for routine or normal business. As I understand it from the agenda, this is to discuss a board member appointment. From reading what has been in the public and has been sent by each of you back and forth to one another, and the legal opinions that have been issued, it appears to me that there seems to be some disagreement about the rights of the mayor to appoint a position, a board position. Today I have talked with federal appeals court judge, a Georgia appeals court judge, and the head of the law enforcement for the, a member of the law enforcement for the Appalachian Judicial District, and I believe that my understanding of the facts at each level of government are correct. I am told that there is a question that there is individual members of the city council who have the belief that there is some question to a timeline that is specific as it relates to this board position which is available for appointment. I have been read the emails that you have sent back and forth to one another, who would say that an email from a member of this board to various and sundry people, including the mayor of the city of Blue Ridge, that I planned to resign was a trigger event. I believe we all from time to time say that this job, I'm gonna quit this damn job, or arguing with our spouse, I'm out of here. But those represent not a fulfillment. I have pledged to my group that I am going to retire. I have not set a date, and I have not told them when. I have been led by the people that I have spoken with to believe that that does not represent notification. And we had that exact situation in our government in this city about 2 weeks ago when an individual resigned, handed in a formal resignation, and then was leaned upon and coerced and convinced by members of this city council to rescind that and to stay in the job. That person was not replaced upon lying that notice there, which could easily have been done, and there were applicants for that job. That email does not constitute notice. This was written in such a fashion that if the mayor failed by reasons of inability or declined the offer of fulfilling this position, that there is a clawback provision where that position can be filled in an unusual circumstance. Our chief of police was in intensive care for many months, and therefore if he had had to do something, it would have had to have been done by someone else. In previous administrations, we have had a mayor or a city council that has failed to perform duties that they were asked to perform in a timely fashion. It is clear that this mayor did not do that. By the timeline that you have given me yourselves, beginning with that letter, this mayor began to survey the community to see who might be best qualified to fill this position. Having done so, the mayor chose somebody that I do not know personally, but that I have observed for a decade to be devoted to Fannin County and to the city of Blue Ridge, to regularly attend each and every open meeting, to speak with reason and with great authority and courtesy to each and every person that she has ever been asked to speak to. The city council has decided that that person is not fit to sit in that job, and therefore they must know some negative material about character, conduct, attitude, behavior, or reputation that disqualifies her from that position. I have heard none of that because you, and you have failed to respond to me when I've written you, I've called you, and I've left text messages. We put in, when we began this, a mission statement. We put in code of conduct that you signed on to. You signed on to it, you signed on to it, and you signed on to it. And it said, I will be prepared for the meetings. I will respond to the questions. I will treat each other with respect. 3 times in the last 4 weeks, you have not done so. First, when we had a meeting to discuss the ice rink, you brought up discussions and I asked you the question, did you meet with the mayor or did you meet with the city administrator to ask those questions? I did. Your answer was I did not have time. 1 week before we had our last meeting, we had a workshop. You attended that workshop. We discussed in great detail the mural ordinance. 5 minutes before that meeting began, you said, I would like to table it. I asked why. I didn't have time to look into it. And my response was, you had a week. It's your responsibility to look into it. This meeting was called by 2 members of the city council, the prior one by 2 members of the city council who did not feel it was appropriate to notify this member of the city council that they had planned to have a meeting, what the urgency was, or why it had to be held now. It's happened a second time. I do know that I am within my rights to therefore ask of these people, what was it that caused you to believe that this woman couldn't sit in the seat and that there was that much urgency? I am told that a member of the board for which this appointment is going to be made chose to discuss with individual members of the city council the opening. Not the mayor, not the city administrator, but 2 members of the council. That would be called ex parte, and that would be called collusion. Those members of the council, I would think, would out of good conscience decline to vote on the matter if they had so been lobbied. So now we appear today. Again, I have no idea what the purpose of the meeting was. I was in Arizona, and everybody knew that I'm not available on Monday. I purchased a first-class airline ticket. I came home early. I left a Mayo Clinic educational conference. I'm not going to get credit for it, and I need the CME. I hired a court attorney, a court reporter to be here. Just so happened she was in Cleveland finishing up a trial and could not get here till 2:30. So I have made certain that my remarks will be easily transcribed, will be available to the public, and will be online. I am going to give the chair back to the presiding officer, and I'm going to ask the members of the city council to answer those questions about what knowledge you have that says this person can't sit in that seat. What knowledge you have that exceeds that says the mayor has the authority to make this appointment and did not negligate it. And what made you think that it was appropriate not to include all members of the city council in your private, ex parte, and offline discussions? Thank you.
Okay, so, discussion and motion to appoint a board member to the Blue Ridge Housing Authority.
I'd like to make a motion that we extend the 5-minute deadline. We have an attorney here that's here to speak, so I think he needs the time, he needs to answer the questions, because we've got several.
Okay,
So I'll make that motion.
you want to make a second? Second. All in favor? Okay, do we want to hear discussion? Does it matter if we do discussion or motion first? Yeah. So, and let me just say this, the purpose for this meeting is because we did get verification or confirmation from the attorney, which in our last meeting, that's what we asked our attorney to ask to confer with the Housing Authority attorney, if the council did have the authority to make the appointment. And so we did get confirmation back from that, so that's why we're having this meeting today.
Did you notify me of that?
You was notified when we told them to notify everyone. That's the policy is that you have to notify everyone within 48 hours. So you got notification.
That there would be a meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So does the council want to make the motion to appoint someone? Or do you want to have questions for this attorney?
I think we should talk to the attorney first, so we got,
Okay,
all the information.
okay. All right, so there's questions here, just some things that I've thought of that, folks have asked me about.
Can
Just,
you have the attorney identify himself for the record, please?
yes, do you mind to identify?
Yeah, would y'all like me to move over there so I can be on video? I know that it's important for Dr. Whaley for this
Yeah,
to be
actually,
recorded.
if you want to come here and I can.
Be happy to.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I don't know most of you all. I know Dr. Whaley simply because he is a fine doctor in Atlanta, and he treats Sandra D. Hudson, who is a client of mine. She is the executive director of the Northwest Georgia Housing Authority and has been for some 30 years or something along that line. And she actually referred me to Dr. Whaley. He may not remember seeing me, but he saw me 2 or 3 years ago, and he gave me a long report and telling me what all I needed to do to stay healthy, so I appreciate that. My name's Stuart Duggan. I'm a lawyer in Rome, Georgia. I represent over 23 public housing authorities in the state of Georgia. I've been practicing for over 32 years. The majority of my practice deals with public housing and regulations pertaining to public housing. I also consult with other public housing authorities throughout the state, including the Atlanta and Fulton County Housing Authorities, Brunswick, you name it. I've consulted with so many over the years on an as-needed basis. I'm a frequent speaker at the Georgia Housing Authority conferences in Jekyll Island and Savannah and otherwise. I feel like I'm an expert in this field. With response to what Dr. Whaley shared earlier, I was asked by your city attorney, I don't know if he's here today or not, he's here by phone, to render an opinion as to authority as it relates to the appointment of Board of Commission members. And at his request, I rendered my opinion in writing, which some of you may have seen, I don't know. Georgia law provides that the mayor has the unfettered power of appointment to make appointment of commissioners. Georgia law also provides what happens where the mayor does not act within 30 days after getting knowledge or information indicating that there is a need for an appointment. Based on the information I have, including emails that I'm assuming Dr. Whaley has seen, though I'm not positive, Ms. Cantrell, who was the former board member of the Blue Ridge Housing Authority, sent the mayor, among others, including I think all members of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority, an email dated August the 10th of 2022 entitled Resignation. In there she makes very clear that she is resigning, and she states, "It is time for me to step down, period." She does not say it is intent. She does not say it is her plan. She says she is stepping down. She goes further to state that she had planned to stick around longer to see some development deal go through with the authority, but that she was not going to be able to do that because of other commitments. And she ends stating, again, "It is time to step down and have someone else join you." The executive director of the Housing Authority, Mr. Traver Aiken, who's here with you today, writes her back, and again the mayor's copied on all of this, stating, "Sorry to hear you're going. I'm sure this is the best move forward," and I'm paraphrasing, "and we appreciate the time you spent with the Housing Authority, and we will miss you." And the mayor writes as well, "I share the same sentiments as Traver. You will be missed." Based on those facts, it is clear to me, in terms of asking my legal opinion, that the mayor had notice as of that time. She had 30 days to make to exercise her power of appointment. She did not. Not casting blame or criticism, she just didn't do it. And the Georgia statute, Title 8, which is the Georgia Housing Authority laws, Title 8-350A1, makes very clear what happens when the mayor either fails or refuses, is what the statute says, to make a power appointment, that power then reverts to the city council as a whole. So it's not a question of whether the appointment that the mayor made on October the 10th is competent or not, or whether she would make a good member or not. That's not the question. The question is, in my opinion, the mayor's power of appointment had lapsed. She did not have the power to appoint Ms. Thompson. This city council does, and y'all can do that today if you choose to. But that power, by operation of law and statute, reverted to the city council as a whole. So in my opinion, what the mayor did was of no moment on October the 10th. It was what you call ultra vires. And it had no force of effect of law, in my opinion. and that this city council now has the power to appoint whomever it wishes. If y'all want to appoint the same person the mayor did, that's within your prerogative. If you choose not to, that too is within your prerogative. So I've addressed that question, I think, dealing with the power of appointment. So it's not a question of whether someone's competent or not, it's a question of what the Georgia law provides in terms of power. And that power had lapsed, and now that power reverts, in my opinion, to the city council here today.
And that was our understanding when we had the meeting last Monday, but because there was the mayor didn't agree, we wanted to make sure, so we had the attorney confirm with you, and so now we've got confirmation, and that's why we're having the meeting today. So, but also, this has brought up some questions from the public, some questions that I think several council members had before this, and so while you're here, I would just like to ask you, or I've got a couple of questions, and I'm sure the others do too. Would you mind asking or answering some questions if you?
Sure, I mean, you've shared this with me before as I walked in the door. Are these the questions you want me to answer?
This is just some questions, yes.
Does everybody have a copy of these questions, or at least the city council?
Let's get a copy, if we will. Do you mind making a copy of this? There's 2 pages of it. I believe there's some valid questions, and I believe one in particular does affect the city, so we should be, concerned about it and have a satisfactory answer to it.
Okay. You want me to just address these questions?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah.
Would it be better that we read the questions out?
Well,
Well, just let him.
I think when I speak, I think they'll be self-explanatory.
Yes, okay,
And
yes.
I'm just gonna, I think
Yes.
I know the gist of these questions. I'm not gonna just do them one by
Yeah,
one. I'm
yeah,
just gonna
that's
sort
fine.
of speak to them.
Yes, okay.
I will speak to the first one. The first one states, did you as the attorney represent the Blue Ridge Housing Authority? Did you help prepare or draft the MOU for the proposed deal with the Soros Foundation? If not, who did and why did you not draft it since you were the legal counsel for the Housing Authority? Okay, I represent the Housing Authority. I was appointed as their general counsel, as I am with some 20 housing authorities in the state of Georgia, with other housing authorities. I work on these low-income housing tax credit deals all over the state. I've got a pipeline full of them. I'm usually on the front line negotiating the terms of the MOUs. What is an MOU? An MOU is a contract. It's referred to as an MOU or a memorandum of understanding, but it's really a contract that sets forth the business terms between the housing authority in this case and your co-development partner who you're planning to do business with or partner to do at affordable housing development, also known, and in this case, a low-income housing tax credit deal.
Is this on part of the business of making this appointment, which is the matter that was supposed to be
Discussion,
discussed?
Yes, that's why we got a motion for a board member in discussion.
Does the Searles Foundation have anything to do with that board meeting? That board appointment?
No.
In that case, that it's out of order.
Yes.
The only item for discussion, and the only item that's allowed to be discussed, is the item that's on this.
Discussion and motion to appoint. Discussion
And motion to appoint. Correct.
I think we're getting a basis for where.
Well,
they're
I'm trying to keep us to the.
I understand, Doc.
Okay.
But we're trying to get a basis for all this.
Can I, Chuck? Mr. Connery, are you there? Is he there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Not well. My question is asking questions about the Searles Foundation applicable to the business that is before the board.
As the agenda says, discussion and motion to appoint board member to the Blue Ridge Housing Authority. What I would suggest is if you want to discuss
But can you do that with a special called meeting though? Okay. Okay, so we need a motion to discuss this in detail, or,
Well, now, what I would suggest is, there be a discussion I would go ahead and handle agenda item 3. And then if there is something to discuss beyond that, then I would recommend a motion to add an agenda item. In this case, agenda item 4. But since my understanding is we are on agenda item 3, so my suggestion would be to go ahead and address that agenda item. And then if there needs to be further discussion, then there be a motion made to amend the agenda to add a 4th item to the agenda.
okay, well, the 4th item was basically the discussion with the Housing Authority attorney. So,
Right.
okay, so we'll go ahead and make the motion then, or, for number 3, to appoint the board member, and then we can call to add, discussion with the Housing Authority attorney.
That would be my suggestion for purposes of Robert's rules.
Okay. Okay, so,
Can you make a motion as the mayor pro tem?
yes.
Yes, the mayor pro tem can make a motion.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to appoint, actually, I have it right now here. I'll make a motion to appoint Brenda Searcy as member of the Blue Ridge Housing Authority Board of Commissioners to fulfill the term previously occupied by Deb Cantrell, who resigned on August 10th, 2022, and to rescind the untimely appointment made to the Blue Ridge Housing Authority Board of Commissioners by the mayor on October 10th, 2022.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Okay, motion passes.
Have y'all
And,
got on the record who voted and who didn't vote? I think that needs to be in your meeting minutes.
Yeah, can y'all do a roll call?
okay, roll call vote. Christie?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
I made a motion, okay.
No.
Yes. Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
still on.
Yeah. I'm sorry, yes.
I think that speaks volumes.
You're sitting right in front of me, sorry.
I know, but that does speak volumes, doesn't it?
Actually, it does it to me.
How did you vote, Doc?
So, yeah, how did you vote?
I didn't catch how you voted.
Okay, no,
Okay.
okay. Okay, so anyone want to make a motion then to discuss, to allow the discussion?
You're
to-
making a motion to amend the agenda by adding an agenda item. That's what you're trying to do. So,
I make a motion that we,
I'm asking if someone would like to make the
I
motion.
make that motion.
You make the motion?
I make the motion.
State it.
I make the motion that we amend the agenda to add item.
To add discussion between
Yes.
the,
Yes, to add
Housing
discussion with the
authority,
attorney. Yes, the housing authority attorney.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
ah,
Aye. Okay,
Okay,
proceed.
You have the floor.
all right. And so my practice historically in representing my housing authority clients is that I'm on the front end of the negotiations. Why is that? Because there's so many business terms and moving parts on these tax credit deals. These are extremely complicated deals. And I don't have enough time to go into all the moving parts and the nuances, but they're very complex, complicated deals, to say the least. And my memorandums of understanding are pretty detailed and complex. Why? To leave a complete, clear meeting of the minds as we move down the path towards a affordable housing tax credit development, which sometimes takes a period of years to begin from stem to stern. Certainly, at a minimum, depending on whether you're doing a 4% tax credit deal or a 9% tax credit deal, you know, it takes a year and sometimes 2 years from the time you begin the application process or the MOU negotiation through when the deal closes and construction thereafter commences. I did confer with and negotiate with, on a very limited basis, Mr. Traver Aiken and the Searles Foundation. When I first got involved in this situation, I did recommend to Mr. Aiken that the Housing Authority do what was prudent and what I typically try to do in all of my deals where we've not yet selected a developer, which is to go out for proposals. Why is that? Well, because you're dealing with public funds, you're dealing with taxpayer dollars, and you want other developers coming to the table to bid for your business so that you can get the best bang for your buck, if you will, for the benefit of the community and the taxpayers whom you serve. For whatever reasons, Mr. Aiken did not do that. He chose instead to negotiate and selected, I assume, the Searles Foundation, where his brother was also a part of the deal or an employee with the company. I shared with Mr. Aiken, in the presence of my partner, William Richardson, that we thought the optics looked very poorly in negotiating solely with the Searles Foundation because it was a public project and because his brother was involved. He seemed to shift that to the side that that wasn't important. So he proceeded to do the negotiations, invited me to participate in a call to discuss the terms, which were very unorthodox, not in keeping with any deal I've ever seen done in the state of Georgia, and certainly no deal that I've ever been privy to or a part of. And I, in turn, tried to negotiate better terms on behalf of the Housing Authority so that they would get financial monies on the front end, which is what I require and negotiate in every deal. I wanted you all, the Housing Authority, to be a part of the development team as a co-developer and to share in the developer fee, for example. All of those terms were rejected. I never drafted the MOU. Mr. Aiken undertook to draft the MOU himself. It's the worst and most poorly drafted MOU I've ever seen in 32 years of law practice. It does not address the business terms with any definiteness, period. In fact, the agreement on its face states that it is unenforceable and not binding, that the terms may change, and even expressly states that it invites and encourages the Housing Authority, if they choose to talk to third parties or other developers to discuss these terms. Candidly, I didn't want my name on the MOU, and I chose not to draft the MOU for Mr. Aiken because I thought the deal smelled so poorly. I didn't want my reputation and my fingerprints on a deal of this type that was so unorthodox and such poor business terms for the Housing Authority. I didn't want to participate in it. So he undertook to draft it.